Welcome, sleepwalkers. Make sure to lock your doors. Please like and subscribe before you pass out. They say great skin needs discipline. Mine needed blood. The first night I dragged a bed of needles across my face, something woke up under my skin. Something that learned to eat pain and glow for the camera. 2 weeks later, my DMs called it perfection. The mirror called it a habitat. Tonight, the needles go deeper. The notification popped up at 11:47 p.m. Jessica Skincare just posted a new story. I should have been asleep. I had a client presentation at 9, and my under-eye circles were already doing me no favors. But there I was, propped up in bed, with my laptop balanced on my knees, scrolling through Instagram skincare accounts like some kind of digital vampire. Jessica's story was the usual routine: cleanser, toner, 3 different serums, moisturizer, face oil. Her skin looked like porcelain under the ring light, smooth and glowing without a single visible pore. The comments were already flooding it in. Skin goals, what's your secret? You're literally glowing. I touched my own cheek reflexively, even in the dim light from my screen. I could feel the rough texture of old acne scars, the raised bumps of new breakouts along my jawline. 28 years old and still dealing with this shit. My phone buzzed. A text from my coworker Mike. Drinks Friday? There's this new place downtown with amazing cocktails. I stared at the message for a long moment, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Mike was nice enough. We had worked together for 2 years, exchanged plenty of friendly banter during video calls, though I always kept my camera off or used the heaviest filter available. He probably thought I was just camera shy. Can't this week? Sorry. Super busy with work, I replied. It wasn't entirely a lie. I was falling behind at work, mainly because I'd been spending my work from home days obsessing over my skin instead of focusing on what needed to be done. But the real reason was simpler. I couldn't imagine sitting across from someone in a restaurant, watching them try not to stare at my face under harsh lighting. I switched back to Instagram. Jessica had moved on to talking about her game-changing new tool, something called a nano roller. She held up what looked like a small paint roller covered in tiny needles. I know it looks scary, she said, rolling it across her already perfect cheek. But microneedling is literally the secret to flawless skin. It stimulates collagen production and helps your serums penetrate deeper. I've been using this specific system for 6 weeks now, and the results speak for themselves. She turned her face to catch the light, and I had to admit, her skin did look incredible. Not just filtered selfie perfect, but genuinely flawless. The kind of skin that looked good even in harsh fluorescent lighting. The key is using it with the right serum, she continued, holding up an elegant glass bottle. This is from Lumina Dermatology. They specialize in professional grade treatments. It's not cheap, but honestly, it's changed my life. I'll put the link in my bio. I found myself clicking over to her bio before I'd even consciously decided to. The link led to a sleek website with clinical-looking product photos and testimonials from people claiming miraculous results. The price made me wince, $180 for the starter kit. But as I scrolled through the before and after photos, my resolve weakened. Revolutionary peptide complex stimulates cellular regeneration, clinically proven to reduce acne scarring by 73%. Visible results in as little as 1 week. There was something about the scientific language that felt reassuring. This wasn't some sketchy MLM product or miracle cure. The website looked professional, almost medical. The testimonials included people who looked like me, normal people with real skin problems, not influencers with perfect genetics. I glanced at my reflection in the black screen of my laptop. Tomorrow, I had 3 video calls scheduled. I could use filters, but they made me look artificial, and I was tired of hiding behind digital makeup. This upcoming presentation was important. A potential promotion hung in the balance. If I could just fix my skin, maybe I could finally turn my camera on without feeling like everyone was staring at my face instead of listening to my ideas. Before I could talk myself out of it, I clicked Add to Cart. The checkout process was smooth, almost suspiciously so. They offered expedited shipping for an extra $20, and I found myself selecting it without hesitation. The confirmation email arrived immediately, professional and reassuring, with a tracking number and detailed instructions for use. Thank you for choosing Lumina Dermatology. Your path to perfect skin begins now. I closed my laptop and settled back into bed, but sleep felt impossible. For the first time in months, I was actually excited about something. Maybe this would be different. Maybe this would finally work. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Mike that said, "No worries. Rain check when you're less swamped." I smiled in the darkness. Maybe by next week, I'd be ready to say yes. The package arrived exactly 48 hours later, which should have been my first clue that something was off. I'd ordered plenty of skincare products over the years, and nothing ever arrived that quickly, even with expedited shipping. But I was too excited to question it. The box was sleek and professional, matte black with the Lumina logo embossed in silver. Inside, everything was perfectly arranged in custom foam inserts. The nano roller in its own sterile case, a 30-milliliter bottle of serum that felt surprisingly heavy, and a detailed instruction booklet with clinical diagrams. I spread everything out on my bathroom counter and read through the instructions twice. The language was reassuringly scientific. Lots of talk about controlled microtrauma and optimized cellular response. The serum bottle listed ingredients I'd never heard of, but that sounded impressively high-tech. Biomimetic peptide complex, nano-encapsulated growth factors, proprietary regeneration catalyst. The nano roller itself was beautiful in an oddly clinical way. The handle was weighted steel, and the roller head was studded with what looked like hundreds of tiny needles. According to the instructions, these were 0.5 millimeter titanium needles, long enough to penetrate the skin but short enough to avoid serious damage. I followed the protocol exactly. Cleanse, sanitize the roller, apply a thin layer of serum, then roll in overlapping patterns across my face. The needles felt strange at first, not painful exactly, but like 1,000 tiny pin pricks. My skin turned pink almost immediately, and I could feel the serum absorbing faster than any product I'd ever used. When I looked in the mirror afterward, my face was flushed but somehow radiant. The serum had left my skin feeling tight and tingly, like I could actually feel it working at a cellular level. I took a selfie, something I never did, and was surprised by how good I looked. The redness was already fading, and there was a subtle glow that I'd never seen before. For the first time in years, I posted it to my Instagram story without a filter. Starting a new skincare routine, fingers crossed. The responses were immediate and encouraging. Friends I hadn't heard from in months were sliding into my DMs, asking what I was using. Even my mom commented, "You look radiant, honey." I scheduled my next session for 2 days later, just like the instructions recommended. But as I put the nano roller away, I found myself already looking forward to it. The tingling sensation had been oddly satisfying, almost addictive. And if I was seeing results this quickly, imagine what I'd look like after a few weeks. Caught myself touching my face throughout the day, marveling at how smooth it felt. The angry red bumps along my jawline seemed smaller, and the texture of my old acne scars felt softer somehow. Maybe I'd finally found the answer I'd been searching for all these years. Maybe perfect skin was actually possible. By the end of the first week, I was obsessed, not in a bad way, or at least that's what I told myself. I was just finally making progress. The results were undeniable. My skin looked better than it had since high school. I'd started taking progress photos, comparing them obsessively. Day 3. The angry red bumps along my jaw had faded to pink dots. Day 5. My old acne scars looked noticeably shallower. Day 7. My skin had a luminous quality that looked almost otherworldly in the right light. The transformation was so dramatic that I found myself thinking about it constantly. During client calls, I'd catch myself touching my cheek, marveling at the smoothness. While reviewing documents, I'd drift off into daydreams about the next nano-rolling session. The anticipation was almost sexual in its intensity. I was supposed to wait 48 hours between treatments, but by day 8, I couldn't stand it anymore. My skin felt normal, better than normal. What was the harm in doing it a little more frequently? If every other day was good, daily would be even better. I started nano-rolling every morning after my shower, incorporating it into my routine like brushing my teeth. The ritual was becoming sacred. The careful sterilization of the roller, the precise application of serum, the methodical rolling patterns across my face. The tingling sensation had evolved into something I genuinely craved. Mike texted again. "You look great in your story posts lately. Glowing. Sure you can't make it out for drinks?" I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. The old Nancy would have made another excuse. But looking at my reflection in my phone screen, I saw someone different. Someone who maybe, just maybe, was ready to be seen. "Actually, let me check my calendar. Maybe next week?" I said. "Awesome, I'll hold you to that," he replied. I smiled, feeling something I hadn't experienced in years. Confidence. Real, genuine confidence that wasn't dependent on filters or perfect lighting. This was what normal people felt like, I realized. This was what it was like to not hate your own face. The serum was running low faster than I'd expected, but that made sense. I was using it daily instead of every other day. I placed a reorder immediately, choosing the expedited shipping again. The idea of running out, of having to skip even one day, made me genuinely anxious. I found myself researching dermarolling obsessively during work hours. Forums, YouTube videos, scientific papers, anything I could find about microneedling and skin regeneration. Most sources recommended the twice-weekly schedule I'd already abandoned, but I found a few that suggested daily use for accelerated results. The more I learned, the more convinced I became that I was onto something revolutionary. The science was sound, the results were visible. Why wouldn't I want to do this as often as possible? I started having dreams about it, not nightmares. Pleasant dreams where I was rolling the needles across my face in slow, hypnotic patterns. I'd wake up with my hand pressed against my cheek, fingers unconsciously tracing the same paths I'd followed the night before. On day 12, I had my first really good day at work in months. That presentation went perfectly, and I kept my camera on the entire time without thinking twice about it. My skin looked flawless on screen, and I could see the client's attention focused on my words rather than my face. "Great work, Nancy," my boss said afterward. "You seemed really confident in there. Whatever you're doing, keep it up." I beamed. This was working. This was actually working. That evening, I took a selfie and posted it to Instagram without hesitation. The responses were immediate and overwhelming. "Oh my God, what are you using? Your skin is perfect. Drop the routine, queen. You look like a different person." I found myself screenshotting the comments, saving them to a folder on my phone. The validation was intoxicating. For the first time in my adult life, people were complimenting my appearance instead of politely ignoring it. I ordered a second bottle of serum before the first was even empty, just to be safe, just to make sure I never had to stop. 3 weeks in, I was nano-rolling twice a day. It started gradually. Morning sessions before work, then evening sessions before bed. My skin was responding so well that it seemed wasteful not to maximize the benefits. The instructions said every other day, but the instructions were clearly conservative, probably to avoid liability issues. I justified it easily enough. Professional athletes trained every day. Musicians practiced for hours. This was just dedication to self-improvement. My skin looked incredible, not just good, incredible. I'd started turning my camera on for every video call, something that would have been unthinkable a month ago. Coworkers were noticing. My mom called to ask if I was dating someone new because I looked so radiant. Even strangers were commenting. The barista at my local coffee shop, the delivery driver, my neighbor in the elevator. But there were these oddities, small things, easy to dismiss. My skin healed faster than normal. Paper cuts sealed themselves within hours. The tiny needle marks from derma rolling disappeared almost instantly, sometimes while I was still applying the serum. I told myself it was just the peptides working, accelerating my natural healing processes. The serum was lasting longer than it should have too. I was using it twice as often as recommended, but the bottle didn't seem to empty at the expected rate. Maybe I was being more conservative with the application than I thought. I found myself checking my reflection compulsively, not out of insecurity, the opposite. I was addicted to seeing my own face, to the smooth perfection I'd achieved. I'd installed a small mirror next to my computer so I could glance at myself during work. Just quick looks to confirm that the transformation was real. The dreams were getting more vivid. Every night I dreamed about nano-rolling, about the satisfying sensation of needles penetrating skin. I'd wake up with my face tingling, as if I'd actually been doing it in my sleep. Sometimes I'd check to make sure the nano-roller was still in its case, just to be certain. My first bottle of serum ran out on day 22. I had been watching the level drop for days, already having small anxiety attacks about the prospect of waiting for my reorder to arrive. But when I went to use the last drops, I found the bottle was fuller than I remembered. I must have been mistaken about how much was left. Easy enough to explain. The new bottle arrived the next day, which should have been impossible given that I'd only ordered it the night before. But maybe the company had upgraded their shipping, or maybe I'd ordered it earlier and forgotten. My memory had been fuzzy lately, probably from lack of sleep. I'd been staying up late researching advanced derma rolling techniques, learning about deeper needling and combination therapies. I decided to upgrade my routine. Instead of the 0.5 millimeter needles that came with the kit, I ordered a 1 millimeter roller. Deeper penetration meant better results, and my skin could clearly handle it, since I'd accidentally pressed too hard during a session and created deeper punctures than usual. But they'd sealed themselves within minutes. The healing factor was remarkable. The new roller arrived in the same impossibly short time frame, packaged in the same elegant black box. When I opened it, I found a handwritten note tucked inside. "Thank you for being a valued customer. Your dedication to the process is admirable. Enclosed is a complimentary upgrade to help you achieve optimal results." Along with the 1 millimeter roller, there was a second bottle of serum. This one was different. The glass was darker, almost black, and the liquid inside had a faint luminescence. The label was minimal: Lumina Dermatology, Advanced Formula. I researched the company that night, trying to find more information about their products. The website was the same as before, but somehow it felt different. The testimonials seemed to have changed, featuring people with even more dramatic transformations. The scientific language was more complex, filled with terms I didn't recognize. I found a few forum posts mentioning Lumina, but they were scattered and vague. People talking about life-changing results and revolutionary treatment. No one seemed to have any complaints, which was odd for a skincare company. Usually, you could find at least a few negative reviews. But the lack of information didn't worry me. My results spoke for themselves. I looked better than I had in my entire adult life. People were treating me differently, with more respect, more attention. I started using the advanced formula that night, combined with the deeper needles. The sensation was more intense, almost overwhelming. My skin turned bright red immediately, and I could feel the serum absorbing so quickly it was like my face was drinking it. When I looked in the mirror afterward, I barely recognized myself. My skin wasn't just clear, it was luminous, perfect in a way that seemed almost artificial. I took a selfie and posted it immediately. The response was instant and overwhelming. "This can't be real. What filter are you using? You look like a doll. Literally perfect." I read the comments with a strange mix of pride and unease. They were compliments, but they didn't feel entirely positive. There was something in the tone, a note of disbelief that made me wonder if I'd gone too far. But when I looked in the mirror again, I saw only perfection. This was what I'd always wanted. This was what I'd been working toward my entire life. I scheduled my next session for 4 hours later, just to maintain the results. I told myself, just to keep the progress going. By week 6, I couldn't stop. And that's when things reached the point of no return. Subscribe to be notified for part 2.